worldwide. We are happy to have you with us today. Some gentle reminders: you can ask your questions anytime during the presentation by typing them in the chat. Our speaker will respond to it at the end of her presentation. Translations for closed captions in various languages are also available. To turn on this feature, click the CC icon at the bottom of your screen and select the closed caption language of your choice. If the CC icon is not showing up, you have to press the More icon. So lastly, we wish to inform you that this webinar is being recorded. So our speaker for today, Dr. Laurie Krom, is the Director of the Center for Systems Change within ICUDDR. In this role, she leads international initiatives to enhance substance use prevention, treatment, and recovery services through the integration of systems thinking and sustainable practices. Laurie oversees the Global Office for the International Technology Transfer Center Network, where she fosters global collaborations across 12 country-specific centers, driving evidence-based, culturally relevant approaches to drug demand reduction. Dr. Krom has over 20 years of experience in grant development and health services leadership. She previously co-founded the Collaborative Center to Advance Health Services at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, where she guided innovative federal projects to strengthen the public health outcomes across the United States. An expert in grant writing and network building, Dr. Krom has been recognized for securing significant federal awards and advancing inter-organizational networks in substance use and healthcare services. She holds a degree from Vassar College, Kansas State University, and a doctorate in educational leadership from the University of Missouri. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'll turn you over to our speaker, Dr. Laurie Krom.
Thank you so much, Verna. I appreciate that warm introduction. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, I hope that's sharing all right, and we'll get started. As Verna mentioned, today I'm going to be talking about higher education in action, ITTCs driving evidence-based substance use practices worldwide. If you'd like to contact me after the presentation, please make a note of my email address that's here on this first screen, and I believe we will make these slides available after the presentation. There will also be a recording of the presentation on ICUDDR's YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the third mission of universities. Then I will talk to you about the ITTC network in case you're not yet familiar with it. And then we'll explore how ITTCs align with universities' third mission. I'll provide some examples of ITTC work, and then we'll have time for discussion. I'm an educator at heart, and it's important to me that in the belief that we are all teachers just as we are all learners. So I don't want to just speak at you for the next 45 minutes. I want to interact with you. And so when you see this symbol on your screen with the two people and the arrows, that means I'm going to ask you to participate, either add to the chat some of your thoughts or share your feelings with a reaction emoji here in Zoom. And we know practice makes perfect. So let's start with asking you to enter in the chat and share which university or organization you represent and what's brought you here today. I have an example here. I work with ICUDDR and I'm here today to talk with you about the ITTCs. So what are you here for today? What is it that you'd like to learn from this presentation? And I'll give you just a minute to write in the chat. I see we had someone from India from the Holy Health Mission. We also have someone from Bangladesh, from Barnali. Thank you for being here. Thank you for saying what you'd like to learn, gaining knowledge and insight. Someone from Davao City. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And of course, we have an ITTC director here. Thank you, Dr. Pinchuk, for being here. More people from Africa. We have Kenya. Thank you for wanting to learn more about the ITTCs. Someone from Pakistan, Bhutan. Fika, thank you for being here from Indonesia, the Indonesia ITTC. Wonderful. Well, thank you all for putting your comments in the chat and while you're here. I appreciate it. I will do my best to continue to monitor it if you want to keep sharing your thoughts. Okay, next, we're going to practice using the reaction emojis. So if you click on the heart icon at the bottom of Zoom, you can open up the reaction emojis. If you click on the three little dots next to the reactions, you can open up a whole library of emojis. So please use that function just to tell me how you're feeling today. How's it going for you? And I'll start. If you don't see that, you may also have to click on the More button to get additional reactions. Tell us how you're feeling today. I see some smiling faces. Thumbs up. Great. Someone feels like an angel. I love that. Someone's feeling really cool. I saw that sunglass emoji. Wonderful. Well, thank you for practicing with me. So let's get started with the presentation. I want to talk to you about what is the third mission of a university. Historically, universities have had two core missions, teaching and research. This concept traces back to ancient times with Aristotle's Lyceum in 335 BC, which trained elite community members. Then during the Middle Ages, universities like the University of Bologna in Italy, which was founded in 1088, emerged as communities of masters and scholars focused on teaching and preserving knowledge. These institutions not only modeled European development of universities, but also influenced global progress. The first major shift in higher education came in the 19th century with reforms in Germany. Led by the University of Berlin, this movement merged teaching with scientific research, creating a dual role for universities. This was sometimes known as the first academic revolution, and it redefined education, emphasizing the integration of research and learning. So those are the first two missions of universities. What do you think the third mission is? In the chat, please share what you think the third mission of universities are. I see improving the lives of people in our communities, collaboration. What other ideas do you have? What is a third mission of a university besides preparing students for the future and knowledge development through research? Community engagement. Thank you for sharing your ideas. And you are right. The third mission of universities is to contribute to economy and society. Universities today are experiencing a profound transformation shaped by global challenges such as the knowledge economy, globalization, and environmental and financial crises. These factors have expanded universities' traditional missions, pushing them to adopt new roles and responsibilities. So I remember I said the first academic revolution happened in Germany with the idea that universities should also be a place to do research. Well, the second academic revolution began in the late 20th century, around the 1980s, making the rise of the third mission. Universities started leveraging knowledge to create tangible societal and economic benefits, engaging in activities like patenting, licensing, and fostering startups. Particularly in the United States, universities embraced entrepreneurial endeavors, contributing directly to innovation and economic growth. Today, the third mission has expanded further, integrating universities into broader societal and industrial networks. They've become key drivers of cultural and economic development, regional growth, and global competitiveness. Beyond teaching and research, universities now play an essential role in fostering collaboration, which someone mentioned in the chat, collaboration between academia, industry, and society. And that really is redefining the purpose of universities in the 21st century. This evolution of universities and higher education underscores the critical position that institutes of higher education play, not only to educate and innovate, but also to actively engage in shaping the world around them. It's time for you to interact again. Does your university focus on a third mission? If it does, please use the thumbs up reaction icon to let us know. If that's not a major focus of your university, give us a thumbs down. Thank you, Irina. Irina's a thumbs up. Her university, Tereshchenko University in Kyiv, Ukraine, has a third mission. I see others here as well putting their thumbs up. So it is, in fact, a third mission that some of you know about for your universities. Universities achieve their third mission in a number of different ways. Certainly through innovation and commercialization, and this has been particularly an important aspect of university development in the United States. Innovation and commercialization has to do with patents and licensing and also science parks and incubators. So universities develop intellectual property and license it to industries for commercialization. For example, Stanford University's Office of Technology Licensing has facilitated groundbreaking innovations like Google, which we all use, of course. The University of Oxford in the United Kingdom has created Oxford University Innovation, which manages intellectual property and has facilitated successful spin-offs like Oxford Nanopore Technologies. And that's what you see a little screenshot of from their website on this slide. Also, institutions like MIT, the Massachusetts Institute on Technology in the United States, foster innovation hubs that provide resources and support for startups and entrepreneurial ventures. Industry partnerships is another way that universities achieve their third mission. Universities partner with companies to solve industry-specific challenges, such as sustainable energy solutions or drug development. For instance, the University of Tokyo partners with major corporations, such as Toyota and Sony, to develop cutting-edge technologies, particularly in robotics and artificial intelligence. Higher education more and more also offers consulting services. Faculty and research centers provide expertise to address real-world problems faced by businesses or government organizations. We've already mentioned a few times the entrepreneurship and startup support that higher education offers. In fact, faculty and students can create companies based on the research that they do at universities, such as CRISPR Therapeutics, which was founded out of the University of California, Berkeley's genome editing research. Also, the University of Cambridge has invested in spin-offs through an organization called Cambridge Enterprise, and that has contributed to the success of companies like ARM Holdings, which is a global leader in microprocessor design. We also have mentioned in the chat, some of you, that the third mission of universities relates to community engagement, community and social engagement. Universities host lectures, workshops, and events that engage the broader community beyond students and faculty in topics like public health, technology, or the arts. Civic partnerships are also an important part of university collaboration. Universities collaborate with local governments to address urban challenges such as housing or climate adaptation projects. For example, in the US, Harvard's Kennedy School regularly partners with cities for policy innovation. There are even more reasons why this third mission of universities, why universities and how universities achieve their third mission. Workforce development, which is certainly a critical aspect of what we do at ICUDDR and also our partners at ISEP. Workforce development through professional training and certification programs. Universities offer tailored courses to meet the needs of local industries, such as advanced manufacturing programs at community colleges or executive MBA programs for business leaders. And they often host lifelong learning initiatives. Institutions like the Open University provide flexible learning options for adults to reskill or upskill, which is especially important in our changing and evolving economic environment. Higher education influences the political sphere as well. Universities generate evidence-based solutions to societal challenges, influencing public policy. For example, the London School of Economics provides research that shapes economic policy worldwide. And then, of course, of particular interest to us here in the work that we do is that universities support public health campaigns. Schools of public health, like the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School, lead initiatives to address global health crises, including pandemics. The University of KwaZulu-Natal plays a vital role in public health advocacy through its research on HIV/AIDS and partnerships with the South African government. And finally, as we all look across the world at climate change and how to ensure the future health of our globe, universities play an important role in sustainable development and environmental innovation. Universities like the University of California system develop renewable energy technologies and implement sustainable practices on campus to set examples for society. And institutions partner with local governments to create strategies for reducing carbon footprints and building resilience. So by embracing these diverse approaches, universities effectively engage with external stakeholders to translate academic knowledge into practical societal benefits. The third mission of universities matters. Universities are in a unique position to drive meaningful change. Around the world, higher education institutions are being recognized as critical partners in solving public health crises, advancing equity, and fostering sustainable development. This recognition isn't just from policymakers, but also from communities and industries looking to universities for leadership. Public expectations of universities are also evolving. Communities want to see how their local and regional universities are making a tangible difference. This growing demand is influencing university rankings and attracting funding opportunities. Governments, international organizations, and even private funders are prioritizing initiatives that demonstrate societal impact, meaning universities have a financial and reputational incentive to embrace the third mission. Engaging in the third mission also creates a ripple effect of benefits across the university. Faculty gain opportunities to apply their expertise in real-world settings, leading to impactful research and professional growth. Students benefit from experiential learning, opportunities that prepare them for careers beyond academia. And the institution as a whole enhances its reputation as a leader in innovation and social responsibility. Ultimately, the third mission ensures universities remain relevant and responsive to the needs of their communities and the world. This is where the ITTC network comes in, a perfect partner for universities looking to achieve and amplify their third mission goals. Before we take a closer look at what the ITTC network does, I want to know what you think. In the chat, share why you believe the third mission matters in higher education today. And I'll give you a few minutes while you type in the chat. What are your thoughts about the importance of university's third mission? How does it impact your work and the work that you do in higher education? Opportunities to translate knowledge into practice, absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you and I hope even if you're not typing, you're thinking about why it matters to you. And I see some other thoughts coming in. Thank you. Benefiting our community, knowledge sharing, making studies that you do in research beneficial. So thinking on the research end, what's going to happen with the study results. Creating prosperity, absolutely, and opportunities for community. Thank you for sharing. So now let's talk about the ITTC network. First, I want to know, using your reaction emoji, pick an emoji. If you've heard of the ITTC or if you've interacted with an ITTC before, pick a reaction emoji to let me know. hopefully there are a lot of people who have heard of the ITTCs. I'm seeing some emojis there. I particularly like the person who put the emoji with the heart eyes. I love the ITTCs too. Excellent. Okay. Well, as this is part of a series that we have been doing with ICUDDR, introducing our new structure, I wanted to make sure you knew how the ITTCs have been integrated into the overall work of ICUDDR. You may have seen this slide before. ICUDDR has 4 centers: the Center for Education and Membership, the Center for Research Development, the Center for Credentialing and Certification, and then the Center for Systems Change. And the Center for Systems Change is where the ITTC network is situated. The ITTC network was launched in February of 2021, so right in the heat of the pandemic, with centers in Vietnam, South Africa, and Ukraine. And gradually we have grown with funding from the US State Department and INL, and with the support of the Colombo Plan and a coordinating office at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. The first open applications for anyone to apply to be a member of ICUDDR, a member of the ITTCs, were in the early part of 2024, so of this year. We held our first in-person network-wide meeting of June of this year at the conference in Greece. And we have fully integrated into ICUDDR as of October of this year. So all of this is very new. We have lots of big plans, but we're really just in our toddler phase of development. Currently, there are ITTCs in 12 countries across the world. I mentioned some of them already based on the participants in the call. We have Dr. Pinchuk from the Ukraine ITTC. We have Dr. Fika from the Indonesia ITTC, and there may have been others who've joined us since we introduced ourselves. But you can see that we have 3 ITTCs currently in South America, 2 in Europe, 2 in Africa, and 5 in Asia. And the ITTC Global Office is part of the Center for Systems Change at ICUDDR. Our focus for ITTCs is to accelerate the diffusion of scientifically based practices in substance use prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and recovery. We use this model, which some of you may have seen before, called the continuum of the diffusion of an innovation, to help depict how we visualize research and evidence-based practice or policy that has been developed in research, moving out of research and into real world. So briefly, if we're looking at the technology transfer model, research is developed and then it's translated into terms and processes that are easily used within society by practitioners. We then disseminate those tools to raise awareness about the research and evidence-based protocols. Once awareness is raised, we work with organizations and systems to promote the adoption of the research. Adoption for us is a process. It doesn't necessarily mean that we will move to implementation. It's really trying on the evidence-based practice to see if it's the right fit. If an adoption decision is made to actually implement in the organization or system, then we move to the implementation phase, where strategies that help integrate the practice or policy throughout the organization or system are used. And you'll see this technology transfer arrow is really designed to accelerate this whole process, because we know that without specific activities that help to accelerate the process, it can take up to 17 years to implement a new practice into real world settings. And you'll see these arrows here, and they're meant to depict that this process is not linear. We know that it is iterative, and that just as much as research informs practice, practice must also inform research. Our theory of change is that evidence-based practices and policies that are implemented in culturally relevant ways with fidelity to the research will lead to improved outcomes, improved prevention outcomes, improved treatment outcomes, improved recovery outcomes. And then when we can package those improved outcomes and demonstrate the value of evidence-based prevention, treatment, recovery, when we can explain those outcomes to systems leaders and policymakers, then eventually we will have systems that are aligned with international standards of evidence-based care. And of course, when we have systems aligned with international standards, that feeds back to having even more evidence-based practices and policies. So this is really how we think of our work in this systems perspective. ITTC core functions include acting as educators and capacity builders. This work is multi-layered and multifaceted. It takes a lot of different strategies to accomplish our change mission and to transform the way that we deal with substance use from across the continuum, from prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery perspectives. So ITTCs serve as educators, developing the workforce, providing skills coaching, mentoring, and technical assistance, and developing educational projects. We also serve as capacity builders, fostering organizational development and supporting the growth of multidisciplinary leaders, leadership development, building up the leadership potential in our workforce is critical to our mission. And we focus on continuous improvement and sustainable advancements. ITTCs also serve as strategists and conveners. So as strategists, we really are looking at analyzing the system, conducting assessments to identify gaps, and then targeting interventions to address the highest need. This often happens when we convene advisory groups. Our advisory groups, every ITTC has an advisory group, and these are the key stakeholders in a country who we bring together to help look at this systems analysis and help us identify where can we leverage our interventions to have the biggest impact. Sometimes this is the first opportunity for various parts of the community that deals with substance use to come together on a neutral footing and have an open and honest conversation about what a country needs to advance their systems of substance use prevention, treatment, and recovery. ITTCs work very closely with policymakers, and really it's a synergistic relationship. Policymakers can provide funding to support ITTC activities. They can participate on ITTC advisory boards. And ITTCs and policymakers collaborate on these strategies and align their efforts, because governments are also working on advancing their systems. Ministries of health, ministries of justice also have their own strategies. And really, we want to be in alignment. And we also want to push governments to use evidence-based information when they're designing their own systems efforts. It also helps that many times policymakers can endorse or support ITTC initiatives, giving credibility to the work. And often ITTCs are a key resource for policymakers, sharing their expertise in evidence-based substance use prevention, treatment and recovery services, and connecting policymakers to people and organizations who provide those services, helping policymakers hear from the people on the ground doing the work. So that brings us back to this third mission. How do ITTCs align with the third mission? Because ITTCs are all embedded within universities. ITTCs bridge academia and society. Integrating ITTCs into universities' third mission strategies is vital because it strengthens the institution's ability to demonstrate its societal relevance and long-term impact, which are increasingly important in a competitive global education landscape, as we said earlier. For universities engaging in initiatives that address substance use through ITTC partnerships, it enhances their public profile, attracts socially conscious students, and opens new funding opportunities aligned with social innovation. These collaborations also provide universities with pathways to fulfill their mission of contributing to societal development while enriching their academic and research portfolios. For faculty, involvement in ITTC initiatives offers meaningful opportunities to apply their expertise to pressing real-world challenges, again, enhancing the relevance of the individual faculty's work and the impact of their work. Faculty can engage in interdisciplinary collaborations. We have ITTCs with faculty who are family medicine practitioners, nurses, psychiatrists, social workers, public health professionals. Really, it is an interdisciplinary network. These collaborations can help develop applied research projects. They can work to co-create solutions with communities, all of which align with the growing emphasis on community-engaged scholarship. Participation in ITTC activities can also lead to professional recognition, new research funding, and publications that address global issues for faculty who are involved, boosting their career trajectories. And most importantly, it allows faculty to directly contribute to societal well-being, creating a sense of purpose and demonstrating the transformative power of academic knowledge in addressing critical public health and social challenges. Here's where I want to know what you think again. In the chat, I'd love it if you share ideas about how you see the work of the ITTC aligning with university's third mission. And I'll give you a minute again. This will give me a chance to take a sip of coffee. How do you see the work of the ITTCs from what you learned about them today aligning with university's third mission? And I see there's some interaction in the chat. How do you become an ICUDDR member? Thank you, Grace. More technical support for global relevance. Thank you very much. Other ideas? ITTCs may encourage community engagement by recognizing innovations. Establishing or enhancing local or regional efforts. Thank you very much. Well, let's look at some specific examples of how ITTCs have helped universities' third missions. I could have chosen so many different examples from ITTCs, but I'm highlighting just two here. And it's not because these are the two most important or my favorite or anything like that. It's just that these are the two that came to the top of mind as I was putting this presentation together. The first is the Peru ITTC's Cascade Training Model. And I think this is really an excellent demonstration of how ITTCs think systematically towards sustainability. So the universities, there are two universities that partner to create and manage the Peru ITTC. They have developed a course that they integrated into their Master of Addiction program at one of the universities. It's called Applications in Cognitive Behavioral Therapy in Addictions. It's an online course. It is an academic course, so it is, I think, 16 weeks long. It is facilitated, but it's online. So many of the modules are self-paced and have already been created, making it easily replicable. Now, students who complete that course become master trainers of content in another course that's based on the first course. The second course is Introduction to Cognitive Behavioral Therapy and Addictions. It's also online and it's also easily replicable. The problem that the ITTC saw in Peru was that they have community mental health centers. And the community mental health centers are throughout the country, outside of the capital in Lima, and they didn't have a lot of knowledge about how to help people with substance use disorders. So they have integrated into this Master of Addiction program a sustainable way to continually have trainers who can go out into those community health centers and train the practitioners who work there on substance use through the introduction course. Both of these courses were developed in conversation with the Ministry of Health. So again, there's this public partnership, the partnership with the government and the universities to address a critical need in the country. And this has created a sustainable system of ongoing knowledge transfer and skill development for the community health center workforce. So that's one example of how ITTCs have helped accomplish the third mission of their universities. Another example, and I am so happy that Dr. Pinchuk is on the call today because this comes from her ITTC. As you all know, Ukraine is in a very unique position among the other ITTCs in that they're operating during wartime. And as part of their work in looking at how they can continue to contribute to the society during wartime, they realized that there wasn't a system available to the military who've been impacted by wartime trauma. So they looked at how can we work with our government to develop a system, a whole system of care for people who have served in the military, who have experienced trauma as a way to address their mental health and co-occurring substance use. And of course, how could they do that? How could they build this whole system when resources are limited, both human resources in terms of a lack of trained professionals who are trained in delivering mental health and substance use services, and also in financial resources because so much of the resources in the country are going to fight the war. So in collaboration with university faculty, military leaders, and policymakers, including the Office of the First Lady of Ukraine, the ITTC has launched a system for peer-to-peer treatment of psychological trauma and co-occurring substance use. Excuse me. They trained peer supporters to work with their peers experiencing challenges. They then built the capacity of those experienced peer supporters to train other peer supporters to work with peers. And they built the capacity of physical and behavioral health practitioners by integrating this into university curriculum to understand this model and be able to offer future training of trainers in Ukraine. So again, you'll see some similarities between how the Ukraine ITTC and the Peru ITTC have both addressed creating systems that are sustainable for getting knowledge about evidence-based practices out into the communities. The third mission has to do with community engagement, interaction with policymakers, innovation, and societal impact. And both ITTCs have demonstrated that this is a model for accomplishing that mission for their universities. So how do you get involved? ICUDDR members who are in countries where ITTCs exist, but who are not part of the ITTC, can collaborate with us. We want you to share your ideas and needs. Please partner with us on projects, learn about our events, and help promote them. All ICUDDR members, in fact, can access ITTC products and attend webinars or other open registration events. And I think the best way to learn about these in real time is to follow individual ITTC social media pages for the most up-to-date information. And then, if you are in a country that doesn't already have an ITTC, you could consider joining us. Each year, we are going to be opening applications for new members of the network. Current ICUDDR member universities can apply. You must have a letter of support from your university leadership and a letter of acknowledgement from your government. More details about our next application process that will happen in the first quarter of 2025 will be available on the ITTC website. There are many benefits of becoming an ITTC. You can receive training and technical assistance on our theory of change, on our technology transfer model, on the strategies that we use to accomplish university's third mission. You get some infrastructure support in terms of a dedicated section of the ICUDDR website, templates and examples of needs assessments and other materials, networking opportunities. The ITTCs become part of an ITTC community where they really share ideas about how to best do this work with each other. And then marketing. You get some customized logos, marketing templates, and we promote your work through our social media and email blasts. So one more time, I want to engage with you. Choose a reaction emoji that represents how you feel about working with the ITTCs to advance university's third missions. Thank you. The heart eye emoji, some clapping. I appreciate all of you who participated in the webinar today by sharing your ideas in the chat and using the Zoom reactions. I think it helps make it a little bit more engaging. So in closing, what we talked about today is the fact that more and more universities are embracing their third mission. The ITTC network accelerates the diffusion of what is known to what is done in practice in substance use prevention, treatment, and recovery. And through this work, ITTCs provide an opportunity for universities to contribute to society and advance their third mission. I've included here the link to the ITTC network section of the ICUDDR website. And if you want to learn more about the ITTCs and what we're doing on a more regular basis, I encourage you to connect with ICUDDR on LinkedIn, and the QR code shown on the screen will take you to ICUDDR's LinkedIn page. That's the end of my presentation today, and I welcome any of your questions and provide an open opportunity for further discussion. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Laurie. That was such an excellent presentation. I think it was so excellent and like everyone is engaged that day. I haven't seen any questions on the chat box, but if you do have questions, feel free to type it. We still have a couple of minutes and I'm pretty sure that Laurie is more than happy to respond to it. And while we're waiting for them, I guess like I'll start the ball rolling by asking a little bit about how some universities from low and middle income countries will be apprehensive to actually engage in ITTC and other, economic, socially economic responses and responsibilities. So what could be your tips and suggestions to those universities?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Verna. And we do have universities in high, middle, and low income countries. And in fact, our very first ITTC really came out of work that we initially did with another US government agency called the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration in Vietnam. And I think I can understand universities are stretched thin, resources are hard to come by, but there are ways to do this work without taxing a lot of resources from the university. We find that many of the ITTC directors tend to be university faculty who are towards the end of their career. They've done research, they've been teaching students, and they want to leave a legacy before they retire from the university setting. These faculty often have developed a community of time of students, alumni, graduate students who work for them, who they can leverage to help support the work. They often already have collaborations with other faculty and departmental members in their university, which can facilitate their efforts. And so they can find time, they can usually talk to their departmental faculty about teaching one last class, perhaps, so that they can find time to work on this efforts. I would also encourage you to think about how you collaborate with other universities to share the load. Many of our ITTCs are collaborations between more than one university. We have Dr. Fika on the line, who is in the Indonesia ITTC, which is a collaboration really of a consortium of universities, many universities across the country in Indonesia that are located in different islands in the country. And so that's a way, again, to leverage resources so the burden isn't all on one institution.
So thank you for that. So it is feasible. It's just that sometimes people would be anxious and overwhelmed, but there are actually a lot of pragmatic, practical way to be able to actually start the ball rolling, right? So it's not as anxiety provoking as a lot of us would think.
Yes, absolutely. And those new ITTCs, if you apply and become accepted as an ITTC, we do provide some pretty extensive orientation and training early on to help you understand the model, to help you develop your first steps in your work as an ITTC, and then it's an extremely collaborative network. It's really an honor and privilege for me to work with the ITTCs because the culture is one of openness and sharing and helping each other across the globe.
And I think that you also mentioned about collaboration, right? So network collaborations, like, and I think we see it happening in ITTC and like especially with some of your members. I think though you mentioned also about like how there would be an application later on for the upcoming year. So can you maybe like share a little bit about like what's the process or at least like what's the basic requirement? Maybe that would help them. Like we want you guys to apply and we know that there are a lot of tasks that needs to be involved. So we're giving you a snippet of what needs to be done.
Sure. Yes, in the first quarter of 2025, we'll open again a process for ITT for universities who are ICUDDR members to apply to be an ITTC for their country. It will be the eligibility will be open to any university that is an ICUDDR member that is in a country that does not already have an ITTC. And the application involves completing an informational sheet, writing a brief narrative in response to our prompts, basically explaining what the need is for the ITTC, what your understanding is of the work that we do, and how you propose to start up the ITTC. It includes some budget information about how you intend to fund the work through either donors or in-kind contributions, or how you are going to be able to do the work of the ITTC. As I mentioned in the presentation, you have to have a letter of acknowledgement from your government so that the government of your country knows that you are applying to be an ITTC. This is a way to really help you if you do get accepted into the network, to begin this relationship with your government and get their buy-in, especially important for ITTC's advisory boards. You have to have a letter from your university leadership because this is not an individual faculty member. This is a university who is applying. And you submit all of those materials along with the bio of the proposed directors, and then an independent review committee will evaluate it. It's not me, it is, there are people who are familiar with technology transfer and global drug demand reduction who use a transparent and fair rubric to rate applications and select up to 4 ITTCs, new
Thank you.
ITTCs for the year.
Sorry for interrupting. Thank you very much. So for those of you who are interested to join ITTC, you know that you have to work with, like start like communicating with your government so that you actually get that letter of acknowledgement. And I guess my last question would be, ITTC has some very wonderful resources. How can they get access to it? Like the website or like, is there
Yes,
any social
absolutely.
media?
Please go to the ICUDDR website. On the navigation bar in the top, you will see on the right-hand side a link to ITTC. If you go there, you will get access to our ITTC for products, events, and you can find an ITTC. So you can link to each individual country's ITTC that is available. And there you can find out who the directors are, what universities are involved, and be able to contact them directly as well.
Thank you. And I like, I think Dr. Fika mentioned something about like for those not working in the universities, you can actually collaborate with your local universities to be able to work together. So that's thank you, Dr. Fika. That was such an excellent suggestion. So are there any other last questions before we let our presenter go? Going once, twice. So we are at 7:01 a.m. our time. So we're so sorry. It's like we know we're coming from different regions. So thank you very much for audience for being here. And most importantly, thank you very much, Dr. Laurie Krom. That's such an excellent, engaging presentation. I hope our audience, I know that our audience have learned a lot. And if you have further questions, um, to her, we will, as Carly mentioned in the chat, we will share with you a copy of her presentation that her email address is there as well as a recording. And this recording will also be made available to in our YouTube channel. Again, thank you very much, and we hope to see you in our next month's webinar. So thank you once again, and great job.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.